I was incredibly inspired by my dad's spirit during his cancer journey. But the truth is, he was getting me ready. Welcome to Spirit and Truth. Welcome, everybody, to the Next Age Spirit and Truth podcast. Once again, I'm so glad to have today the Reverend Duncan Teague, who is going to represent the faith component in this conversation that we're having about prostate cancer, and specifically Black men and prostate cancer. And so I am honored to have him in conversation with us today. Reverend Duncan, thank you very much for being
Thank you for having me,
here.
and especially in this conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So while I haven't had the chance to talk to you about my own personal journey, you have your own personal journey
Yes, I do.
as it applies to this subject. So would
I
you
call
mind?
myself a survivor.
Absolutely, as well you should, because that is what we are at this point, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I had the prostatectomy, the radical prostatectomy in July of 22. And I did have to do 7.5 weeks of radiation from February to April 23. But my last three checkups have all been at zero point zero 0.01 PSA level, which they consider undetectable. And so, yes, I do consider myself a survivor. You want to talk a bit about your own personal journey with the the whole prostate cancer piece, your diagnosis, however you want to detail it. But I just, want to kind of give the folks some background about your situation.
Well, we're going to start with the good news, and that's
Absolutely.
that. Okay, so y'all can do the math because I'm horrible with numbers. It also means that I don't lie about my age. I just don't get the number right. Um, I had my surgery on October 1st, 2014. Yeah. Oh, wow. And then I um, went to the doctor in January for the follow-up visit, totally expecting to not have a PSA, and I did. And because there was no more, I say I donated my prostate. Um, that way, I'm in the active role. Um, and and I did have a PSA, so that meant that there was somewhere was prostate cancer, and so then I had to do the radiation like you had to, and I also did because it's considered salvage cancer, which if you must have cancer, really salvage anyway. Um, so I also did hormone therapy, which was a trip. Um, it is quite a trip. But anyway, the good thing is that since the end of my hormone therapy and the end of my radiation, I have been undetectable. And it's interesting for a gay man my age to use the word undetectable.
In that sense, right?
Yes, because for years, of course, in our community, it means that you're undetectable for HIV. Well, it's important to be undetectable for a lot of things. And I'm HIV negative. I have maintained that, but in this context, I'm also undetectable, and I'm joining the brothers that are proud of that. Um, I'm so glad that you are including in this discussion something about spirituality because those all these numbers and undetectable, detectable, what's your Gleason, what's your this, what's your that, that is important. But we have brothers dying because they don't haven't done the research, are afraid to death of somebody else's narrative around prostate cancer from 40 years ago. And so, and they're afraid to come out about it. I mean, it sounds like a whole lot like another epidemic in the community.
Preach.
Uh, and and we don't want nobody to know about it. Um, and so I came out because about it in the pulpit.
Mm.
And part of my spiritual journey around the diagnosis was, uh, okay, now I am joining folks who have a chronic disease or who have to cope with this. And what am I going to do? And how am I going to get support? And I said, you know, if I invest too much energy in trying to hide my cancer, my diagnosis, I'm going to miss out on the love and support I deserve to get through this. And also, yesterday was my husband's birthday.
Happy birthday, David, again.
Yeah. And we celebrated his birthday by going to a concert, and I felt a healing occur at a jazz concert. It's Marcus Johnson, by the way. I'll go ahead and name him. And no, I'm not being paid by the Marcus Johnson 360 project or anything, but he was wonderful. But the reason I'm saying that is because I didn't go through this alone. David and I have been together now 30 years, 20 of that married. And he was with me at every appointment. From the time the doctor told me, Mr. Teague, I don't want to tell you this, but you have prostate cancer. From that moment to every moment since. And so my first spiritual message to guys who are suspicious, concerned, going through it, is that don't go through it alone.
I think that's you just answered my question. I was going to say, how important do you think that, either companionship or just having someone there with you, how important is that? For me, it was my family.
Yes.
I divorced just previous to my diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been pretty much alone had it not been for my immediate family who was there for me. So yeah, I'm really glad to hear that, you understand the value of having someone to go through that with. It's
Yes.
yeah, it's an epic situation. I mean, how else do you describe that? I mean, it is so monumental and ground shifting. Yeah. So thank you for saying that.
Thank you for using the word companionship. Because had I not had David with me, I'd had somebody with me.
Right.
Huh?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey now. Uh, and also for basic psychological health reasons. When you know it's, a real important visit, you need to have two more ears there.
Yeah.
Because after they say cancer, your mind goes,
Yeah.
and or if they say any difficult word for you to ingest, and they keep talking because they're on the clock. And you got to absorb, you got to cope with what's going on. You got to make sure you don't fall in the floor, or if you do fall in the floor, that, they get you back up. And you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You
Yeah.
have a lot to hold on to, and you are not meant to do that alone.
I thank you for saying that. I remember going in knowing that I was going to have this consultation with my urologist, and I asked her if I could record it because I
Hmm.
knew that I was going to need, some documentation of all this information she was going to give me. And at first she was reluctant. She was like, well, I don't, and I said, not video, just audio. If I can just put on my recorder and just put it right here on the table, just so I can have the information and remember everything that you're about to say. And one of the things she said was, you have prostate cancer. And I said, well, so you're saying that my prostate has cancer? And she said, well, that's one way to say it. I said, well, that's the only way I'm going to say it,
Mm-hmm.
because words have power. And
Yes.
if I say that unto myself, then I have invited it unto myself. And I'm not going to say that. What I'm
Mm.
going to say is that my prostate has cancer and I have to deal with that.
Yes.
And so that's kind of how I've gone about it. I think there have been very, very few times I've kind of had to say it in certain formats, but
Exactly.
very few times that I have said that's what I have. I don't want that unto my, I can speak, you can speak things onto yourself, and I know you know that. And so I
Yes.
don't, so I'm not doing that. But yeah, it's important. And I'm glad that you had someone with you in that moment. I did not. So I
Mm.
wanted to make sure that I could record it and have it and go home and hear her say exactly what it was. You know what I mean?
And
So,
and for your health, I'm wishing you a healthy divorce.
oh, no, I'm happily divorced.
See,
Um, some people are happily married. I'm happily
exactly,
divorced.
exactly. And I'm sorry, but it affects your health.
Yeah,
A bad
absolutely.
marriage,
Hmm.
a bad relationship, uh, some of that breakup is the radiation we need. Ooh, don't
Mm,
let me start.
you
Anyway,
did. Come on, preacher. That's why you're here, sir.
yes.
But
Um,
yeah, and so I wanted to ask you because I had a conversation with a couple of friends of mine the other night, um, who are also what we call spiritual deconstructionists at this
uh-oh.
point. And yeah, because I mean, there are a lot of us who grew up in the faith, in
Or
very
a faith.
strict a faith, yes. Well, those of us who grew up in the faith I grew up in, there ain't but one. So, so,
And that's an
so,
issue there.
right. So it's been very difficult, in terms of having to rationalize some of the things, especially those of
Hmm.
us who grew up same gender loving, knowing that we were and all that kind of stuff, but still being damned to hell and all of that kind of thing. So we're trying to, I won't say we're trying to, but in trying to deconstruct that harmful theology and then rationalize that in a situation like this. And one of my friends, Joshua, said, that statement or the scripture in the Bible that says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor the seed begging bread. And he's like, well, that's not quite true. I have I've seen the right. Matter of fact, I've been the righteous who have been forsaken.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
And so those kinds of things, I mean, how do you really rationalize or dig in, let me say that, to your faith, especially in moments like this, when you've been
hmm.
diagnosed with that word, that cancer word? We've all lost so many people to some form of cancer that it almost still feels like someone has spoken death unto you when they say cancer, you know.
I'm gonna sound real practical, and I'm also gonna blatantly plug my own faith because I made the transition from really very Black Baptist, missionary Baptist faith. Um, and I, at one point, was so angry about it, I thought I could wash it out, and you can't. So don't waste your time. Um, you know, I'm more like the folks in recovery who say take what you like and leave the rest, um, for your own health's sake. And since life is so short, don't waste time trying to do things that are futile. So I'm Unitarian Universalist, and I've also been so long engaged in HIV and AIDS. And those years of struggling coping, dealing with HIV and AIDS and the intimate and loving relationships with guys who had it, and their walk with that disease till the point now where it's a shot every 3 months or a pill once a week or whatever it is now. And I remember when it wasn't. And so it was like, Duncan, don't you dare. I was talking to myself about it, maybe God. Don't you dare do this in and ignore all that information, all that power that you got being a part of that community, even though I'm negative. And so that was my school. Like I knew better than try to be closeted about my cancer. I knew better than to not get all the information I could get. Before my radical prostatectomy, which I also agreed to, I saw 5 doctors. I talked to everybody. My husband was talking to everybody. We were engaged in information seeking because the information is not harmful, which some of our faith communities sort of implied, even if they didn't directly say it. Like, you just believe what we give you. Well, no. How about I believe what I can get my hands on, and I make a decision, an informed decision. And I want to say that I regret not knowing enough about proton therapy. I'm not sure I would have changed my mind, but it wasn't something that I knew about. And so that's one regret I have. And you were talking about being damned to hell. Well, as far as I know, they don't have a hell to send you to,
Correct.
as far as I know. If there
That's
exists
new
a
for me
hell,
too.
they're not the gatekeepers. And and I'm a Unitarian Universalist, which means I have a problem with the equation that a loving God who created you to send you to eternal damnation for something you had nothing to do about. That equation just doesn't sit well with me. In the same way that some of us believe we are punished by physical illness. And so then we either don't include our spirituality as a source of strength, as a source of support, or we think it's punishment. And I don't believe either. And I don't encourage people to believe either. One of the horrible statistics I think that backs me up a little bit is that men across the globe present for prostate cancer in the same numbers, regardless of race, regardless of culture. The number that's frightening is that Black men show up and we die of it twice as fast as white men and other men. So we all get it, but somehow or another, by the time we get to the doctor, we're dying of it. Well, that's probably our horrible healthcare system and the racism implicit in that. But it also says something about us. That when are we getting there? When are we having a physical exam? And I don't mean sitting down talking about the Saints and the Falcons. I mean, going to a doctor who's going to get intimate with you, especially after a certain age. And, you know, a prostate exam is not going to make you gay. It ain't, and actually, if you are gay, I can tell you from experience, it ain't going to be very thrilling either. So let's keep things in their proper perspective and do what we need to. And so there's too many of us who haven't been to the doctor, let alone been thoroughly examined. So that we can arrive at a point where you can make a decision that will save your life.
I appreciate you speaking to the racism in the healthcare industry, the industry, because it is an industry. Because I think that a lot of what happens, and you really spoke to it, a lot of us use the emergency room as primary care.
Oh my God. It ain't set up for it.
Right.
I've been a chaplain in the hospital, y'all. And that's why you got to sit there 4 hours, because the bullet wounds and the heart attacks and the strokes have got to be attended to first, because those are emergencies.
Yeah. So your prostate cancer has to wait. So,
Yes.
it
Because
takes
you
a
could
back
discover
seat.
that with your doctor, who you got to find,
Yeah.
your doctor who you trust.
That prostate cancer exam at this point is readily available, and it is something that you don't have to uh, that you can get at the health department. There are a lot of our church, as a matter of fact, I belong to the Impact Church here in East Point.
Oh,
Our church,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love
yeah.
your minister.
Oh yeah, man. We have it's amazing, and they have a free biometrics testing that you can come and get a whole blood workup, a blood panel, and I mean just everything
Oh, see,
for
that'll make me shout.
yeah for free. It
I can
because
run around this computer now.
come on, sir,
Because
tap it on
what would
out.
happen if at every African American church you either got a referral, in the
Mm-hmm.
offering basket to a healthcare facility,
Mm-hmm.
or you knew on second Sunday, once a quarter, there's a nurse there who will confidentially
Yeah,
see you?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah. These this
That's something to run up and down the aisles about.
Absolutely, man. I am so honored to belong to a body of believers that has that sort of opportunity. And the motto at Impact is they are an inclusive body of believers dedicated to holistic
Mm,
salvation, which is not just your spirit and your soul, but your body and your
how about it?
mind.
Since you
And
got one.
since you got
And
absolutely, and these
sometimes it
things are
feels
important.
awfully good. Hallelujah.
Before we continue, here's a late night update from Kipper, recorded the day after his meeting with his urologist. In it, he shares that while his digital exam looked normal, his PSA came back unexpectedly high, and what the immediate next steps are. This moment captures how he's choosing to walk through the uncertainty in real time. Here's Kipper.
Hey, so it's Tuesday, February 15th, about 10 minutes to midnight. So I said today that if I'm taking you on the journey, I have to take you on the journey, right? So today, well, let me go back a couple of days. Day before yesterday, no, if today's Tuesday, Kipper, it was yesterday. So yesterday I had my appointment with the urologist, Dr. Orojo, and we did the digital examination. And she found absolutely nothing surprising or alarming. As a matter of fact, she said everything was normal with my prostate. And so I also had to do the PSA, which is the blood test, right? So I did the PSA test, and the results came back alarmingly high. So what Dr. Orojo is going to do is order another PSA test for 2 weeks from now. And should that one, well, let's just say this. She's going to order another test because they don't just go off of one. They want to make sure that that wasn't caused by some external condition like inflammation or something else. So they do another test. If that test comes back positive, then they will also do a biopsy and an MRI. And the MRI shows things to them that the biopsy doesn't necessarily show them. So same process for me, but not for them. It's two different things. So anyway, that's where we are, and that's what happened today. And I'm good. I ain't tripping. So, we'll see what it is. I talked to my brother. He's giving me some advice about some things to do to bring that number down. and all those kinds of things. So we'll see what's up with that. And I'll keep you posted. Stay tuned. Yeah. All right. Love y'all. Bye.
That testing, again, is, the blood test, the PSA test, and the rectal digital exam, which is a flash. I mean, nobody's trying to have sex with you in the office. It's just a very quick, inside feel to make sure that there's no hardening of your prostate gland. My RDE didn't show anything.
That's right.
My rectal digital exam didn't show anything.
Neither did mine.
Feel anything. My PSA was 20.
Oh my God.
Yeah. My PSA was 20, knowing that 4 or under is the metric, the general metric. They're finding that for Black men, it could even be a little lower. But 4 or under being the metric, mine was 20. We waited a couple of weeks, tested again. She had already booked an MRI and a biopsy, but we said we'll wait and try again and test again in a couple of weeks. Maybe there's something, maybe the numbers higher or elevating the numbers. But in that second testing, it was 21. So we knew that we would have to do the MRI and the biopsy, and we did. And, and then the rest is, shall we say, history.
I need to say something before, because I know we're not going to talk forever. I wish we could talk forever.
Please.
But I need to also say that the great fear is the loss of your sexuality. And I want to say out loud that your sexuality is bigger than your prostate.
Thank you.
It is more encompassing of your whole body than just your prostate. And that your commitment to a passionate, loving sex life is bigger than a prostate. And so if you have that commitment, now finding the right partner is a whole nother episode, but you don't lose your sexuality when you lose your prostate. I need to say that out loud, because that's killing some men. Yeah. And across the board, because I have friends, associates who met with me about their numbers, what have you, and they are deathly afraid of what I just said. Mm-hmm. And so they don't want to pursue it. They're waiting and seeing for all sorts of reasons. And in my estimation, playing with cancer. Yeah. And I didn't mean to just flip the script on that, but I know what folks are afraid of. I know what I was afraid of. And so I don't want to leave that out. And if we're blessed with the sexuality and one part of our life that is guaranteed to bring you a little joy, we hope, glory, you don't want to lose that behind something as horrible as cancer. And you don't have to. That's my testimony.
It's not trivial, but it is. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. And I appreciate you mentioning that. You talked earlier about the hormone therapy portion. And that is where the compromise in your sexual activity, I won't call it your sexuality, but in your sexual activity can really take place. I mean, for me, I had my Lupron shot on February 27th, 2020.
Oh my, you remember.
Listen. I can almost tell you what time it was.
No, I'm going to tell you when I had that first hot flash.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
Well, see, that's what I'm going to tell you about.
Yeah. But to your point, I'm still having that.
Oh, wow.
Still having the hot flashes, and we're a year and a half removed from.
Oh, it does change your temperature dial.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so I used to be the one who had a sweater everywhere I went. I don't have no sweater.
But you take it on, and you put it on, and you take it off.
Oh my God!
You take it off, and you got a little fan. Where's my fan? My fan's in my bedroom, right now. But I have one with me constantly. I go to the movies with it. I have it at church.
Yes, you do.
I'm just like, because I will bust out in a cold sweat, and so so the hot flashes. Still dealing with the erectile dysfunction piece. Still having to sleep in a protective garment to make sure that I, don't wet the bed and that kind of thing. I mean, it can really do a number on your psyche if you're not grounded, if you're not okay.
Yes.
And I think that's another thing I would like to speak to, and especially in terms of a spiritual circumstance. It's like, okay, God, when, why are you just letting this happen? I mean, when is it going to shift? And
Mm,
how do I
mm.
still, how do I still maintain my faith in this situation when they told me it was only going to be a year and now it's a year and a half and nothing's changed and, all those kinds of things. I mean, for me, I'm good. I know I'm not married anymore. I'm not in a committed relationship or anything like that. But I'm okay with me. And
Yes.
so,
And
I
Kipper, I wish this were in person
mm,
because, um, first of all, we're fellow survivors, so I want them to see us hugging.
yes.
And you still fine, so you know,
God
and I
bless you.
want to tell the men, especially the men listening, but the women would tell us anyway, that our sexuality from when we were 16 is different when we got to about 30 something. And it's different then at 40 something and 50. I ain't claiming all that other.
I'm
But anyway,
62. Listen, it is all good.
it is all good. And the other piece of it for me that is part of my health is that I'm in therapy.
Yes.
Um,
So glad to hear you say that,
and
Reverend
I went
Teague.
to different kinds of therapy. I actually made use of sexual therapy to cope with the changes in my sexual life and what changed in our intimacy between me and my husband. I I wanted somebody who knew what was going on and who could help me. And it helped because I realized about a year after I had gone to the sexual therapist that I had gained a comfort and a confidence in what I'm capable of now and what love and what affection and what our sex life means now. And because I had confidence in it and had gotten past my fears, my moments about it, and because I had taken that risk to talk to somebody else about it, um, it was about a year later that I was like, oh, this was a issue for me, and it's not now. And this is Minority Mental Health Month. And last night, in the middle of the concert, Marcus Johnson came out about being and I think he's a heterosexual, damn it. Um, but, and he's a devoted father, but he is a single father. And he talked about his mental health struggles. And he talked about him going to therapy. And he talked directly to the Black men in the audience about, no, you don't want to go. But my parents were therapists, and so I didn't grow up with that it was a bad thing. But he talked directly about we gonna have to go to somebody and talk to him about it because here he is, a professor, a recognized musician, an owner of his own business, and he has 2 graduate degrees. He is a lawyer and something else. I can't remember he's way too overachieving, but anyway. But he got to the point where he was at Grady because he loves Atlanta. He's from DC, but he loves Atlanta. And his testimony was he was in Grady because of stress. And the nurse said point blank, you won't be here if you keep doing what you're doing and not getting some help. And he was afraid he was about to have a stroke.
Sure.
Y'all, we don't have to go through these things alone. And I wish more famous Black men who are really highly regarded in all sorts of fields would come out about using the help that is available. And I tell my folks at my congregation, Abundant Love, I have a therapist and I have a backup in case something happens to him. As y'all not gonna drive me crazy.
Correct. Yeah.
And for some of them, they know it's a short trip. But anyway, it's part of your health care and the care you have about your health. You don't have to be as crazy as your great uncle was.
Yeah.
And
So
we
much
all
more
had
available.
2 or 3 who were.
Yeah.
And they didn't have access. It was a taboo around it. We're in a different place. How dare you carry a cell phone and you can't handle the word therapy?
Absolutely.
You ain't using a rotary dial.
You know, you say that, and I think back to my dad. You know, and just us having conversation. You know, I lost my dad in 2014, but I remember him saying about his relationship with my mother that was just, you know, it was physical, all those things. And he's like, Kipper, we didn't have therapy and the counseling and stuff that I can take advantage of now. And my father was very proactive in his alcohol recovery and in his prostate cancer journey. You know, he took advantage of every therapeutic situation that he could. He saw a psychologist at the VA. He had, you know, of course, his recovery in AA, and then he had a regular therapist that he talked to once he got, you know, and because he understood the importance of being able to talk to someone and get an objective, not even diagnosis, but an objective opinion about what he was going through and what he was dealing with. Just to have somebody tell you, hey, you need to look at, I don't know, spending time meditating or spending time reading or you know, just to have someone say those kinds of things can be very helpful.
How about just time that if it ain't nothing but the 50 minutes with the therapist, that you are taking out resources and time for yourself? Because you're valuable and your mind and your spirit is valuable. And in the same way that you wouldn't walk around and nobody would let you walk around with a broken arm and not get it fixed, we have far too many people walking around with broken spirits. And some of them have set it up so somebody else can even mince what's broken. I mean, you know, they're engaging in stuff with people who are further breaking them down. Enough of that. I preached Sunday morning about joy, not conditional happiness, but joy. Because life happens anyway. And somewhere deep inside, you can experience joy. And I think we've got to embrace that. And if you're not here because you died of prostate cancer, because you couldn't handle the idea of somebody, you know, examining you, that's a lost opportunity as far as I'm concerned.
Sure. And we're dealing with people we've lost David Sanborn this year, Dexter King
Oh,
this
I
year.
didn't know we lost David Sanborn.
Yeah, just about a month or so ago. Dexter King, O.J. Simpson. Um, these were all prostate cancer deaths. And I don't know, you get everybody's journey is different. So I don't know about diagnosis and time and to the degree that, these people were when they were diagnosed and how it went. But we do know, as my shirt, this is even an old shirt. It says 96%. But at this point, there is a 98% survival rate for prostate cancer when detected early enough and treated.
Yes.
So, when you say uh, that people remain, and I love this analogy that you used about being closeted, and not not wanting or not willing to come out. I love the association with being same gender loving as well. But it almost tends to be, you said, a lost opportunity. It is almost unnecessary. You're taking yourself through something that you didn't have to. And I think that just having the faith again, and that's why I'm glad to have you here. And you talked about joy, finding that. My therapist says all the time, Kipper, do the things that bring you joy.
Oh my.
And so I think that is so important. And I want to thank you for saying that, you know. And so let me ask you now, though, because Duncan, you're amazing, and I appreciate you taking the time out to do this. But is there anything you want to leave us with today?
That it was grief that took me into my doctor. He no longer practices here. David actually was with him from his residency to his retirement. And I'm still a little mad at him for going to Asheville. But anyway, he was a wonderful doctor, Dr. David Spivey. Um, but it was grief over my mother's death. My mother died of colon cancer. And I was so afraid. And I was like, I want to die of this. He said, you don't have to. Huh. Let's talk about faith.
Yeah.
He said, you don't have to die of colon cancer, Duncan. And then when my numbers, and he was monitoring them, and I had a 5 PSA. 5 is not that big of a deal. But he didn't like how I went from 2 point something to 5.
Trending. Yes.
The trends. And he was like, Duncan, we don't have to do anything, but I don't think you want to wait and see. And so some part of our long-term relationship, and I was fortunate to have the insurance, fortunate to have my husband, he said, we don't have to wait and see. I'm going to give you a referral. And I took the referral because I like being here. God knows I loved my prostate, but I have now been here since 2014, and I've had a whole nother life that began that year because my surgery was on October 1st. I was ordained on September 28th.
Wow.
So if I hadn't had faith, and also the faith in myself that I could get through it, not alone, but with the people around me, the love that surrounded me, the hundreds of folks that were at my ordination, I was going to be all right. And I have been mostly. Now, I've had my days. But like I said, I got my therapist.
Right. That's right. That's right.
And I have a spiritual relationship with powerful people for whom their love and care, not just David. Get you a good husband, but if you don't have one, get you some friends.
Real
And
friends.
I don't mean Facebook friends.
Come on.
I mean sweet potato pie friends. Oh,
Okay.
that's who we were at the concert with. Somebody I've known for I can't say how long, because then y'all know my age. But anyway, yeah, that's what I want to say. That treasure life, and that includes all of it. Yeah.
Well, Duncan, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your candor for certain. And
Well,
and I
you know what the truth does?
what
It sets you free.
it'll make you free. That's what they told me.
Well, how about it? And what we don't say is some of us don't want to be free, but that's a whole nother podcast.
Listen, ain't it though? Ain't it
But
though?
for those of us who want to be free, yeah.
Well, Duncan, again, man, thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me and for going there. Oh my God, we need to do these in a series for months so that they can pick it up everywhere.
Thank you.
And then find some rich Black person to put it on a billboard.
Amen. Amen.
Thank
Your
you,
mouth.
and I wish you good health
Thank
and
you.
your next relationship joy like you've never had it. Uh-oh.
Thank you. God bless you. Your mouth to God's ears, as they say. Thank you so very much for taking out time on David's birthday to be with us. And
That was yesterday. We're recuperating now. But you know what? God made birthday cake too. How about it?
Yeah. Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much again, my friend. God bless you.
Bless you too.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Spirit and Truth. You can subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts and follow Kipper at Uncle Kipper everywhere on social media.